If you are considering between a resale and a new launch condo, this is a podcast for you. Alright, this has been the topic of the year or many years ever since new launch have been created or property have been created. Basically, resale versus new launch. I think regardless you go to any YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok, there's always this topic. I think most people always talk about this. Should I get a resale or should I get a new launch? I think that's where and why we are here today to compare. So number one, most importantly one, example, Joey, today if you want to buy a property, why would you consider resale first in comparison to new launch?
The size bigger.
What
For older
size?
flats.
What
The
size?
home size.
Home size bigger. Okay. So then how about you, Amilia? Today, if you have the money, will you buy resale? Will you buy a bigger resale or a smaller new launch?
Depends on what you want lah. If I want for own stay, for comfort, definitely we go for resale mah. But if you want to at least earn some money, I think new launch can consider also lah.
Actually, that's the truth lah. I think most people will always say, "Aiya, it's okay lah. All the new launches that are being built right now is all." There's one word that realtors always use one. You know, even though it's smaller, but they always use this word to replace a smaller size unit.
Effective layout.
Effective and efficient. No, they will tell you, Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Buyer, this is not small. It's just that now developers have learned how to build the developments more effectively. But the truth is, in general, the size is smaller. But ultimately, if you ask me, my personal take, if today I have a family of 4 or 5, and there's nothing that I can find within my monthly affordability in terms of rental to replace a home, then I'll probably go for resale lor. Because if I got a bigger resale, I can use my installment. I can use two things mah. Firstly, I can use CPF to pay for my monthly mortgage. I can also top up any cash. But if I were to rent a bigger flat for my family of 4 or 5, can you use CPF for rental?
No.
Cannot. I think that's the thing for me lah. But if I can afford the rental and in terms of profitability of the new property, then I will go for new launch. Only if the new launch profit can cover my rental or more, then I'll go for new launch. If not, my take is bigger resale. Okay, now that we are talking about the size between resale versus new property, but we can also compare downsizing from a bigger resale to a smaller new launch unit. So I think we have a very good case study, which is I think Amilia herself. She bought a new launch, smaller, right?
Smaller.
Smaller 3-bedroom compact from after selling your
4-bedroom.
HDB. 4-room flat HDB lah.
Yeah, 4-room flat HDB.
Yeah. So why were you okay to buy a property that is smaller than your previous house?
I think generally is because for my resale, right, I lost quite a bit of money lah. So over staying for around 5 years in the resale HDB, it was a rather old flat, so I lost about 12k, luckily during the COVID times. So at the point of time, I was thinking if I were to buy the resale again, I don't want to suffer the whole negative sale again if it do come true lah. So end up I decided to go for the 3-bedroom compact that is within my budget. So what I really lose is actually the storeroom space.
Yeah.
So I don't have a helper, so with or without a storeroom really doesn't matter for me lah. Just make do with the existing place and make some storage in the compact 3-bedroom lah.
What do you mean when what's the relationship between the storeroom and the helper?
Because some people put their helpers in the
storeroom mah.
Utility room.
Utility room lah, not storeroom.
No, older HDB is called storeroom.
Oh, okay. The older HDB, the storeroom is big enough to be a bedroom for the helper. Sorry, I'm a bit confused. I was thinking.
I thought you buy one.
Huh? No. Okay, so okay. Then why did you choose to go for a smaller new launch? What was the rationale behind it?
I think at the point of time, the PSF makes sense. And then
how much did you buy for the new one?
1,488 PSF. Back then lah. It was a 3-bedroom, so I think it was also within what I can afford, and I didn't want to overstretch. And then also because my 2 kids are still young, so they can still bunk into 1 room. So technically, to me, the space is enough for us lah, 4 of us. I think so. 3-bedroom was good enough for the investment as well.
Okay, so but the intention for the new launch, is it to own stay or hopefully make some money or to cover back the 12,000 that you mentioned?
I think generally I will still sell it lah, typically. So, but I've decided to stay in for like maybe 3 years or so.
Yeah.
Just nice. There's enough transformation there to support the pricing as well.
Yeah.
So no harm staying for a while and then maybe upgrade to the next one lah.
But you can secretly share with us, have you covered the 12,000 already? No?
Of course, of course.
So on paper, okay, we don't say on paper, based on latest transaction, how much profit that you're actually sitting on?
I think at the area for dairy farm residences, the highest transacted was around 2,000 PSF. For 3-bedroom, we're looking at maybe 1,009, 1,008. I bought it at 1,000, almost 1,005 lah. So I would say easily a 300k PSF.
So 12,000 cover lah.
Confirm cover lah.
Yeah, so downsizing from smaller space, worth it lah.
Worth it lah.
But I also know that in the transition wasn't as easy as well, because for new launches, you choose to go for the new launch route, you need to wait for it to build. So after you sold your place, where do you stay?
So initially our plan was to rent a 2-bedroom to stay, but end up, of course, my in-laws actually free up some space for us to bunk into 1-bedroom altogether. So 4 of us are just bunking together with my in-laws in 1-bedroom lah.
For how long?
For now about 2 years already lah. But it's very comfortable actually if you ask me, because there's a lot of help at the in-law side also lah.
Yeah, okay. So I think this is a very good example when it comes to choosing size. It doesn't mean that when you buy a bigger resale or you go for the size means that your property will grow lah. Sometimes, example, type of property like example HDB or resale, it do affect the potential growth or capital appreciation. For in this case, she actually bought one, I think lost 12,000, but then because of this, then she made it back at the new launch site, 300 plus. Right. Okay, so this is the first one for size. Next one will be price. So what about price?
I think one look at resale and new launch prices, we know that resale prices are easier to stomach, especially in this market. The truth is, with inflation, it's unlikely that the housing prices will ever go back to how it was maybe 10, 20 years ago. Like what we said just now.
What makes you so sure that you will not go back to 10 years ago?
So
if I'm a buyer, I should challenge you.
So I'm going to use the same thing you used on me just now. In this world, what is getting cheaper and cheaper? If you can name me one, I transfer you $10.
A haircut.
Haircut get cheaper and cheaper.
Now got what's that called? There's one shop, barber called what? Always give $2 or $4 haircut one.
Okay, but today we're not talking about haircut.
Okay, you ask me ma. Okay. $10 transfer. That's a haircut. Okay. So what makes you so confident that prices will not go back to where it was 10 years ago? Because of things getting cheaper and cheaper.
I totally just told you.
Okay.
With inflation, it's unlikely that things will lower their prices.
Correct.
Especially with, let's say, the materials that comes with building houses, all of them increase. There's no reason why developers would lower the prices of housing
so
also.
When developers bid for new land, there's a new price tag they need to sell at break-even price, and because of that, also creates a gap between the new property price and resale. So example, if the resale is selling at 1,004 per square feet and the new properties is going to launch at 2K, there's actually no reason for the resale owner to drop from 1.4 to 1.2, right? Actually don't have to. The gap is already so big. Naturally, those that cannot stomach the 2K per square feet, like what you mentioned, will flow down to the resale. Yeah.
Okay, but with that said, it does not mean that there aren't still safe buys in the market lah. I think it takes agents to help clients identify which projects are still safe and good price to enter. But I think it's also important to take note that even sometimes we pay a higher price for new launch projects, it does not mean that our monthly installment is higher also. I think with the different payment modes, the different payment schemes, it also makes the pricing a bit easier to stomach, at least for the first few years while the house is building.
So maybe before that, we can start with payment mode first. Example, what do I mean by payment mode? So the difference in terms of how the deposit works, how the procedure works. Maybe for this, Jasper can cover on the different type of payment mode for resale, condo, and new launch.
Can. So actually for resale condo, right, we mostly do by a 1% option fee followed by a 4% exercise fee. Then thereafter, you will be paying the buyer stamp duty within 2 weeks after exercising. So upon completion, you'll be doing a 20% balance of your down payment. So your entire down payment is actually 25%. then your full loan of 75% will kickstart straight away upon
but very
completion.
importantly, for resale condo, your buyer's stamp duty, you have to come out in cash first.
Yes, then it will be reimbursed if you have surplus in your CPF OA upon completion.
Okay, so what's the difference for a new launch condo?
So new launch, right, you actually have 5% booking fee instead of option fee. Then thereafter you have your buyer's stamp duty, followed by your balance at exercise 15%. Then another 5% foundation stage. Thereafter you have a completion of foundation, additional 5%. After that, you'll be starting your 75% progressive payment.
Yep. So for the CPF portion, can you use it for your buyer's stamp duty?
Yeah, your buyer's stamp duty can be used in CPF OA if you have it first, as compared to when you do a resale purchase, you must pay for it in cash first.
So the biggest difference for resale and new will be the usage of CPF for your buyer's stamp duty. So a lot of people don't know. They go and buy a resale condo, they just pay the 1%, 4%. They assume that they can use the CPF for stamp duty. But actually cannot. You have to pay cash first. So if you don't have, which means you back still borrow to complete. Like, if not, you need to forfeit your 5% already. But new launch is very different. Like what Joey say, why it's easier maybe at the upfront, because you just pay 5% to developer. In between, you can use your OA for stamp duty, and then following the remaining 15%, and then another 5%, and then progressive payment. Right. So I think then the next thing is a lot of people have a bit confused on, don't really know how progressive payment work. So I think we have Amilia that actually break down quite a bit. An example for us over here.
So I think typically for, let's say, assuming a 2 million purchase, let's say you compare a resale, so your total upfront payment for a 2 million purchase will be at 569,000. That is assuming you have 5% cash and then stamp duty and your 20% down payment. Right, so your minimum cash outlay for a 2 million purchase for a resale will be looking at 170,000. That is flat cash, non-negotiable. That means your 5% and your stamp duty that has to be in cash. So at a money mortgage, so the good thing about resale is that you can take a fixed rate, which is slightly lower than BUC as in new launch rate. So let's say assuming 3% fixed rate, your money mortgage will look at 6,003 immediately when you collect you finish your completion . So the same thing for new launch. The difference is that comparing to 569,000, which is a resale amount, your total upfront payment for a new launch at the same amount of property price, 2 million, you'll be looking at 469,000 instead. So that's easily 100k difference from your resale purchase. Right, and then your minimum cash outlay will be looking at 100k. So that will be 70k different from your resale purchase. So I think typically people are quite, for myself, I mean, I also quite comfortable with this because you have a leisure cash outlay. So you can, people who need to rent, for example, they can actually use the cash to rent first while waiting. Then at least you have not so much of cash outlay per month because at the end of the day, you still need to fulfill your 20% for your down payment. So the balance 5% will only be caught upon 6 to 9 months from launch day. So typically this is the normal timeline, but there's some developments that actually do like 1 year or 1.5 years delay for your foundation stage. That means to say easily you will be only paying 20% plus stamp duty, and then you wait for 1 year, then your progressive payment then start. So if I put into numbers, for new launch wise, your mortgage payment will be slightly higher at the floating rate of 4%. So on the first to second year, monthly you'll be looking at $400 to about 2,003 per month. So if you are 2 person working together, adults, right, easily this amount can be covered by your CPF monthly. That means to say no cash outlay for the first 1 or 2 years. Then nearing to your TOP stage, you'll be looking at 5,007. So 5,007 is where you can actually move into your house already, where you can actually choose to rent out or start moving into your house. So typically if you look at it, it's 6,003 versus 5,007. So it's still much lesser than versus if you're going to move in straight to a resale property . So of course, finally after 1 year after TOP, then your monthly mortgage will be locked back to the usual rate, which is 6,003 per month until you sell your house or you clear your loan. So I think basically for the first 3 years, you're actually saving quite a bit of interest here already. So because monthly is dispersed by a shorter amount of money, then your interest will be, even though the interest rate is higher, but you're not paying for so much interest at the start. Yeah, so I think this actually attract quite a bit of first timer or people who are willing to rent while waiting for a new development to be built .
Yeah, I think usually for progressive payment and normal payment, it only becomes attractive when interest rates are high, correct? Because today the installment for the 2 mil purchase is so high only because the interest rate is fixed at 3 ma. But if today the interest rate, overall interest rate is 1%, then I think the story is going to be very different because buying a resale might not make a big difference already. But today, based on today, a lot of people are going for smaller units, same quantum, but because they do not want to be affected by the high interest rate, they want to have the most principal locked in into the house, so they opt for progressive payment. But of course, you have to come out extra cash for your replacement home, like what she mentioned over here. Okay, now let's move to the next point, which is potential growth. I think this is one of the biggest topic to debate as well. Can a resale make more, or a new launch make more?
Okay, I think when we talk about this topic, it's very important to understand when we are entering also, like at which year you are entering the development when it comes to resale, right? So for overall across the board, I think for the first 1 to 5, 6 years?
5, 6.
5, 6 years, it will continue to grow. The prices will continue to grow. But across the board, maybe after 15 years, it will also stagnate. So if you enter at the 15-year mark, I would say it's harder for you to get the capital appreciation you want also lah, right? So for new launch projects, actually, for investors especially, they always like to buy and then 3 years later they sell. So, because that is when the capital appreciation is the highest. Like what Amilia said earlier, right? Her house just take key only. She's already sitting on 300k of profits.
Actually, there's a saying for this. 你买面包比较便宜还是面粉比较便宜? Basically, if you want to buy a bread, is the bread cheaper or flour cheaper?
Flour.
This is the same as real estate, ma. You buy a property when it's completed versus you buy one that is not constructed. Which one is cheaper?
Because the one that is
Not completed, ma. But the thing is, because everybody always compare to a bread that is built or baked long ago to compare in terms of pricing, because this resale condo in the market has been built 10 years ago, 20 years ago. The land price is different, everything is different. But when it comes to resale, the growth is slower as well. But when it comes to a new launch, it's still considered a new flour and then a new bread. So naturally, they will command a higher price in the resale market as well. I think that's what you are saying lah. That's why there's always this TOP effect ma.
Yeah, you must always remember the first owner always earn the most one. If you buy after 10 years, the owner already earned the 10 years worth of appreciation already.
That's if you choose the right one. Yeah, because we do some research ma. There are some developments that lose money one. These are either they enter at a high back then, if not they enter at the tail end of a development. I can give you an example. Recently, I don't name the project as well. The one bedder was this particular project. The one bedroom wasn't very well sold till the very end of the sale. That means it took them about 3 years to fully sold, and the last few are all one bedders. So initial launch price one bedrooms are only 600 plus. But do you know till end how much developers are selling them for? You know how much? You guess? Close to 1. I think 900 plus. Tail end.
Well, means if I'm the last person who buy, my neighbor already
On 300.
make 300 already.
Okay, but the truth is a lot of people do not know how much will this value come true in the resale market. That's the thing. So upon TOP, key collection, everything, all the owners start to sell ma? Correct or not? So those that sell 600 plus, they will start to market at 800 plus, 900 plus. Those that bought at 900 plus, they will sell at 1 mil plus. But the thing is, bank value can only match at 800 plus thousand. So within the same development, there's a group of buyer that bought early at the correct per square feet, correct price, made money. But there's also a group of people that enter late at a higher per square feet, higher quantum, they lose money. So when it comes to this point, means that the time that you enter a certain development also important. Doesn't mean new launch, sure make one. Because sometimes developer increase 10, 20, 30% ma. If your own stay, never mind. But if you want to sell one, then that's when we really need to take note lor. So that's when potential growth become potential loss. You know what? It becomes a flip, opposite. Right now. But resale can make money, you know.
I think it depends on where you are looking at lah. So I think my case study is quite strong. On the same time that I purchased my Dairy Farm new launch, a compact 3-bedroom, my girlfriend also purchased a resale that is nearby the area. So of course, she bought into a resale that's around 8 years old at the point of time, and she bought into the highest PSF at the point of time because there's no supply, nobody is selling at the point of time. So every unit that we go, basically went to a price war. So of course now I'm looking at the data. So she's staying there for around 3 years already. So in total, I think she's sitting on about 300,000 gain as well. So in 3 years, she gained about 300. But of course, she put in about 80 to 100K of renovation. So if you net out maybe 200K,
Minus tax, your buyer stamp duty, legal fee, everything.
and your high interest at the point of time lah. So if I look at myself, I bought in slightly later, around 2 years, I'm sitting about 300K of profit.
Yeah.
So I think if you compare 2 years, I make 300K versus 3 years, she make 200K. I think not say resale cannot earn. I think it depends on what kind
It's
of
just much
project.
slower lah.
Slower, but it's still a slightly slower growth. But I don't think that it will be like it will drop lah.
Yeah.
It depends because around that surrounding, there's so many plots land up and coming. So it's 后浪推前浪 or 前浪推后浪 Either way, so
后浪推前浪，
right 后浪推前浪
后
right
浪推前浪，
yeah
前
so,
浪后头推后浪。
yeah it's 后浪推前浪 lah. So I think she's also very lucky that she bought into a good facing unit. So it's also if let's say she's going to stay there for a while longer, she still be able to maintain her profit over there. Yeah.
Quite rare, right?
Quite
For
rare. It's really
resale
quite
to
rare.
Perform
Actually,
similar.
anybody that bought before COVID
Very
actually
quite
make
safe.
money.
Usually all make money.
Actually make money because and somewhere in between, I think past 2 years there's a lack of supply of properties in the market. But that exactly brings out one of our point, which is the unforeseen renovation and repair costs for resale property. So if you want to buy a resale property, no problem. At a low per square feet, low quantum, bigger size, same quantum, same size also, no, same quantum but bigger size also okay. But when you buy, you need to make sure that you set aside
Budget for renovation.
budget for renovation. You really won't know one. Example, currently I'm staying at this place, I'm renting lah. So what happened is today, just today, my landlord have to fix all the aircon pipe within the house. And you know condo, all the aircon pipe is inside one. So today they have to cut all the hole, everything, dig out everything, so everything is spoiled already. And then because of that, the owner has to spend 1,000 plus just on piping. And then recently, just water seepage into the wooden tiles, another few K. Just water tank spoil, another 1K plus. So as the property age, your appliances age as well, some of your cupboards, cabinets, all these will also age as well. Then it will start to eat away some of your growth. It doesn't mean you won't profit, it's just that because of age, wear and tear, they'll start to eat away some of these. Exactly the same. They could have made the same, but just that due to renovation, etc., is being eaten. And still got interest rate, we haven't count also, right? So now we talk about next one will be location. Wow, this one. Okay, so location example, you can buy for the same price, you can buy at RCR, rest of Central Region, new, versus OCR, but older, but bigger. So what's your take, Jasper?
Like typically 3 beders are at about 2 million in the RCR region, but if you go further out to the OCR regions, they hover at around 1.5.
Yeah.
1.5 to 1.6, and they are also much bigger.
Yeah.
So in comparison, if you ask me between a old or a new one, if I'm in to make the money, then yes, the new one that gives me a shorter time frame to earn the same amount of money. Otherwise, if I actually want it for own stay, to have the comfort for me and my families, then I may choose the much bigger, older one.
Yeah, correct. So it really depends on your needs, lah.
Yeah.
I mean, so at the end of the day, there's no clear verdict on whether to buy a resale or new launch. Still have to see your family size, whether you have a replacement home, a place to stay.
Yeah, not all of us have
Not
somewhere else to
everybody,
stay.
and not everybody is okay to bunk in. How many person?
4% into one
2
bedroom.
adult, 2 kids.
Yeah, actually quite.
Right. But in return, you get a mother-in-law to take care of the kids.
Yeah, but of course, I think my mother-in-law stand is like, don't waste the money on rental. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that add up to it. So to us, we already lost money in the resale property, right? So we don't want to be adding more cash on top. So I think it's like give and take lah, 先苦后甜. So now we are moving back to the new house. So I think it's still okay lah.
Yeah. Okay, so basically we have run through quite a bit of the difference between resale and new launch. And to be honest, one podcast like this will never be able to answer or give you a very clear understanding of which is best for you. So most importantly, speak to an expert speak to someone that really have the insight of maybe good buys in the market, good resale purchases in comparison to good new property out there, and then take a look at the interest rate, take a look at the replacement cost, take a look at the potential renovation and repair costs before you make the big purchase of placing that either 1% or 5%. Right, so anything to add on, guys?
Hear on to what the person's needs are before we see whether to go for a new launch or resale.
Correct. So still don't force yourself to buy a brand new launch because of the profit that people promise you, agent promise you. Ultimately, the purchase shouldn't make you suffer.
Ultimately, 你开心就好。
要开心.
Yeah.
I always say you buy property, you must be happy.
Yeah.
Right now, no point you buy one, you know that you can make money or you think that you can make money. But the whole 2-3 years, you are living in, what's the right word to say? Living in misery. I think there's no point.
Yeah lah.
We should be happy.
But I think also have to pick the right development to look at.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like entry price, development, and then size or layout of the unit.
Total unit count, all those that affects.
So there are many factors that we can slowly branch out to other podcasts.
Yeah, but we cannot cover all in one video.
Yeah, if
If
we
not,
More to come. More to come.
people will be very tired.
Yeah, if you realize this podcast, to be very honest, it might be one of the hardest podcasts to cover because of so many variables in between resale and new launch. We didn't even talk about 99-year lease versus freehold versus 999. We never talk about high-rise, low-rise. We haven't talked about boutique development. We haven't talked about developers, so many things. But don't worry, subscribe, like our video. We will definitely cover this topic one by one. Hopefully one day this will become a library and then you can pass down to your next generation as a guideline to buy their property. Okay, Ken? Thank you everybody. Thanks for watching and staying in tune with us. Look forward to more podcasts like this. We'll see you very soon. Bye.
Bye.
The initial stages of when the property was increasing also has NG. I ran out of breath. I thought halfway, right? Then my mouth is faster than my brain.
Slowly.